In this episode of the Texas Private School Podcast, Parish survives a tenacious push by Gio Darisaw and Prestonwood to claim the Division I North. Allstate states emphatically that all roads run through West Fort Worth. DJ Stanley continues to build his MVP case over in Mesquite. When Liuzzi, Shanks, and Kinkaid locker stuff the Dragons of John Cooper, and Obina Ume leads St. Thomas past Coleman and Concordia Lutheran in a rock fight. All this and more in the Week 9 recap of the Texas Private School Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Texas Private School Podcast. I, as always, am one-third of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson, joining you from cloudy and foggy Sunnyvale, Texas. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder join me from College Station and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, respectively. Gentlemen, an incredibly fun week in Texas private school ball, a week that we were majorly right in stark contrast to the week prior. We will take our victory lap there in a moment. Walker Lott, I will turn to you first, not for events occurring in the Texas private school space, but for events that happened a bit out east in a place formerly known as Death Valley.
Right.
We'll have to change that name to Happy Valley, I think, because teams that go in there apparently win at night. It's like we were saying before we started recording. I guess it's real now. Your thoughts from us just teeth kicking LSU.
It was the type of thing where you walk in and you know all the stuff about Brian Kelly and the rumors that he might be fired, and it's like, the offense is not there, the defense is okay, but they still, lost 2 games in October, which never happens for LSU, and you're kind of like, okay, it's gonna go downhill. We're the better team. We should walk into Death Valley and win, but of course, we haven't done that since '94. Death Valley, Brian Kelly is 27-1, and these are the games A&M usually loses in the past. And honestly, in the first half, right, like it was like, okay, they're playing to LSU's level. They're making mistakes. They're keeping them in this one. You're like, all right, this is another A&M game where we should easily win this game by 2-3 scores, and that's not going to happen. Like I think we said it on the space, right? I think I did. Of like, if we play our game, we're going to win by 2 scores, and we weren't. And then the Elko halftime adjustments are a beautiful thing. We realized, hey, just play our game and don't be stupid, and we'll win this game. And 14 straight points in the third quarter. And it was literally, I texted my friends after that. I wanted Brian Kelly fire Brian Kelly chance in the third, and I wanted that place ended by the fourth. And that's what it was. We made that in Kyle Field East. Who has ever done that? Ever? No one's ever done that, where it's literally the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen from LSU, where literally that turned into Kyle Field East. We went into their student section and started chanting "Fire Brian Kelly." That is the
They probably joined us.
Yeah, it is the ultimate, just unbelievable, man. It's a top 5 game to watch as a fan, because like that's something that's never happened. One, just in college football, no one just takes over Death Valley, and then 2, those are the games A&M usually loses. And we showed that we're a different team this year. We're the better team offensively and defensively. And we showed it. And it was so much fun to watch. And I'm so proud of this team. Mike Elko, what a hire. Like, even after the game where he was like, oh, yeah, it's 27-1 when Brian Kelly's the here and night, he goes, no, 27-2. Because we win. Like, he doesn't care. He's still pissed off after the fact. Like, that's the coach I want. I'm excited for this. I'm knock on wood right now, but we're basically 1 foot into the college football playoff already. We have to beat Missouri, South Carolina, or Texas. We need to at least beat one more, and then 2-loss team usually gets in. So I think it's possible. I think we can do it. And man, what a team! Marcel Reed. It's funny. I don't think he's winning the Heisman, but right now he's invited to New York. That's what's the crazy part about it. But he is, right? And then Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver. NIL money. We needed receivers. We went out and got receivers, and then the one pickup was Ashton Bethel Roman, who had an unbelievable one-handed catch. And then defensively, I mean, I said Cassius Howell is our best defensive lineman to wear the maroon and white since Myles Garrett. I mean, unbelievable season. Terry York is awesome. Des Ricks had an awful first half, but then combated it with a great second half. Like the first half was 2024 Des Ricks, the second half was 2025 Des Ricks, and you saw where it was awesome, man. And overall, I mean, I think Herb Street said it after the Saw Him Off in Death Valley of like, if you're back in College Station, you might get a little emotional after watching that. Wasn't emotional, but it means something. Like seeing that means something. And like you said, I'll wrap it up. It feels like it's real.
It does. I think the battered Aggie syndrome is still there. I'm still like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but I finally do believe. And like you said, bringing Elko into this program, it finally just feels like because Jimbo's not that guy. He's not the we're going to go out, we're going to stomp on your face. Elko is that guy. You can finally see the team
Yeah.
playing like that. I think the best microcosm of all of that with the players buying in is a tweet by Ruben Owens after the game, and it was the dank meme of Elko with the ice on his wrist and the grills, and the caption was, "You're either a dog or you're dog food." And by God, LSU was dog food last
Real.
night. But it's a beautiful thing. Ryan Schroeder, I will turn to you. Oklahoma State played yesterday. Texas Tech won that 42 to nothing. Any comments to the extent that Walker and I had on college football last week?
I mean, I don't have to talk about it.
You
I
don't.
don't have to. I really don't have to. This is what I did halfway through the season. I jumped on the SMU bandwagon because I obviously went to a
And
couple
they
SMU
lost.
games this year. Then they lost to Wake Forest
Yep.
on a game-winning field goal. So this is me now jumping on the A&M bandwagon as a part of
Come
the
on. When
as a
has
part
anyone
of
ever said that?
I got two co-hosts that are A&M,
Yep.
diehards, went to school there and stuff. So we're just gonna move over there at this point. I feel as an OSU fan, I have the right to do that.
Oh, for sure.
Seeing as we probably couldn't beat 10 other FBS teams, and we kind of went through teams this past week as a friend group to decide which ones could we 100% beat. And there really isn't a few. Besides UMass, who has their head coach play scout team corner, I think we're currently in a position right now where there's no guarantee of anyone.
No, no, there's not. Walker, I mean, Ryan, I will also extend once we get past football season, the pathway to the Duke basketball
Oh,
bandwagon is still available for you as well, which I
so
know you've utilized in the past, but the bridge is still open.
I mean, I've been to Cameron Indoor. I own a variety of Duke men's basketball gear. I have no idea why. I just, when you're a fan of Boston College men's basketball, you kind of just give up over time. But OSU currently fourth ranked recruiting class in the nation in basketball. So
Oh, there you
we'll
go.
see. We'll see if I take that here in a couple
There you
weeks.
go.
We did lose to SMU in an exhibition game this weekend though. So just standards are low, very
Well,
low.
in the words of the great prophet Waylon Jennings, the door is always open if you
Okay.
care to
Okay.
walk through it.
Appreciate
So,
it.
that being said, that is all the non TXPS content that we have for the episode. Moving into it, we're gonna have a couple things before the scoreboard. The first is this was a big bounce back week for our pick records. We haven't really been highlighting them through the season. That's partially because I write the script and I have been getting my teeth kicked in over the past few weeks. Walker's run away with it. He'll win it, and we'll probably have to re-buy another pick record trophy because Konstantin Krasser stole the last one. So we'll make sure and get that over to Walker. That being said, the thing I do want to highlight is after an abysmal week where I went like 9-7, almost 500, which is inexcusable at this point in the season. Walker went 12-2. Both Ryan and I went 13-1. Again, I think it's easier once you get to this point in the season. You can see which teams have beaten who, and it's a little bit easier to guess games. That being said, in a world full of chaos, I'll take a victory lap briefly for some very good picks to salvage that a little bit. Again, Ryan, we're still not going to catch Walker. You're 10 games back. I'm 9 games back. It would take a Herculean effort or a monumental collapse from Walker. I doubt it's going to happen. Walker, I'll cut to you briefly to wrap it up. For you being number one of the pick record, but a good week for everyone this past Friday.
Yeah, I think it's just the encyclopedia brain that I have for this dang genre of sport is finally paying off after all these years of it not paying off, right? So, I guess I finally got lucky this year, and it's finally being ball knowledge is there. So, yeah, I mean, I think last year by this time I was still in the lead over Ryan, and then Ryan, it was a closer gap at that time, but Ryan came back and won it. So I'm not gonna say it's completely over, until the bell rings. But
I
I'm proud of myself. I can say that for sure.
I can just pack my bags. I can go home. Don't worry about it. You got it. 10 is a lot, man. 10 is a
Yeah.
lot. We've also lost a lot of games this year.
Yes.
And I think that just proves the parity of like how many different outcomes there's been and stuff too.
Right.
Uh, with that being said, too, I mean, I would have loved to see the final of the fourth Country Day Oakridge game. Like Wes, I could have tied it back up with you if that would have gone in my favor, or I could have gone. I don't know, but overall, very good week.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was talking. There was a bunch of Country Day kids at the All Saints Midland game, and I told them, "Why don't y'all just send the eighth graders out there for that game? It means nothing. You're just gonna get somebody hurt if it's a preview of the title game. Just send either the JV or the eighth graders, or we can turn this into to college football 2012 and just have a bunch of mascots out there playing. I think that would be
Love
great.
that. Good pull.
That's an idea moving forward. I'm sure that it won't be implemented, but I will push for that in the future.
Do you think these kids even know about mascot challenge these days?
No, because if I was
sad.
12 when that game came out, they were the freshmen were
Two?
Alive?
two.
Were they alive?
Oh, that's disgusting. Okay, that makes me feel older than I'd care to feel. So we're gonna move on very quickly from that. The last thing for the scoreboard, something that has to be addressed is the use of AI with the Brazos Christian football page. There is an incredibly disturbing image now floating around. We have a screenshot that I think, yeah, Walker gave it to me, and now me and Jacob Bermudez use it as reply guys on Twitter. Basically, Ryan, I think, in the middle of a freak out in one of our episodes. That was my fault, by the way. But Brazos Christian then decided to utilize the great powers of Grok and to turn that into Ryan freaking out and then I think softly weeping while saying, "I'm sorry, Brazos." It's the creepiest thing I've ever seen on the internet.
It's awful.
Also the greatest thing at the same time. Ryan Schroeder is the man that's been memeified and then made also into a video. Are you creeped out by Brazos Christian football? Is this a term of endearment? Where are you at with the use of artificial intelligence?
So we've been used a variety of times in Bishop Lynch videos, Midland Christian full video. I mean, First Baptist had you a couple years. We've been used in other ways to have been highlighted on this show as he leaves the room. With all that being said, I would say the use of AI it does partially scare me. I will say that I don't think should be on the table. I'm kind of scared with what Wes Tolleson is going to bring back.
Yeah, I don't
here,
really
but,
know either.
I don't even know this question.
Oh,
What is this?
I was gonna say if you've wrapped up this, you said Midland Christian, that reminded me, and Walker knows what this is.
Yeah.
I also sent it in the group chat. This is probably the coolest thing that we've ever received, and the fact that people actually listen and are now making merch based on things that we've said. We all receive shirts that say bus fatigue on them, and for those that are uninitiated, that was the comment that Ryan Schroeder made whenever Midland was going to play Cornerstone Christian in not San Diego, in San Antonio, without realizing that Midland has to travel basically that far to play literally anyone. But the funny thing is, I thought they just made this like on a whim for us.
No,
They didn't. Like their entire coaching staff wears these shirts now.
merch.
It's to be honest with you, and again, I'll make sure and I'll ship these out to both of you. I told them we'd all wear them on an episode at some point. I was gonna say it would be for the recap episode, but I have to wear something else for that episode, which we'll see here shortly. Or sorry, for the preview Halloween episode. That being said, it's the biggest compliment to what we do that what we're saying now is being made into merch for coaching staffs, but it was a hilarious turn of events, and it's just very, very fun from a very, very tough team in Midland Christian, who we will recap here shortly. But before we get to that, gentlemen, we have to analyze the TXPS Media Football Scoreboard, powered as always on Friday nights by Ryan Schroeder. We will leave the top 6 games in the left-hand column for further analysis shortly. We will start with a big, big game that was the only loss for Ryan Schroeder and I in the pick record, as Antonian Prep besting St. Pius 35-26. No stats for Antonian on this one, but Amir Parks Brooks and Trey Finney, surprise, both caught touchdowns for St. Pius, 165 yards for Finney and 130 for Amir Parks Brooks. This is interesting in terms of the D1 South, because that now leaves a log jam for third place. Obviously, St. Thomas and Concordia stand at the top at 5-0 and 3-1, and there are 3 teams tied for second between Central, St. Michael's, and Antonian, as St. Pius, who we once held in very high regard, now falls to 1-3. We'll talk more about this later and probably in a future episode, but I think there's a good chance that we've always said in the past that all else equal, the lower teams in Division One North are going to beat the better teams in the Division One South. I don't know how true that is now because teams like Concordia and St. Thomas and even St. Mike's and Antonian look improved. We're going to see.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Let's move on to the next one, Walker.
Yeah, moving on to the next one. My Southwest Christian Eagles lose badly to Fort Worth Christian, 59-13, where this wasn't even a game. It was like 28-0 after the first quarter, maybe even more. Yeah, it was 21-0 in the first quarter. It was basically 59-7 after the half. Like it was disgusting, man. Shout out to Fort Worth Christian. Gigliotta, great night for him. You ready for this? 9 of 11, 375 yards and 5 touchdowns. Unbelievable first half for him. Casey Ending has a great night, 106 on the ground with a touchdown. Gigliotta has 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Receiving wise, Creighton Chandler leads the way with 117 in a touchdown. Jack Garza 79 in a touchdown. Casey Ending 88 in a touchdown. Kate Kropholler 39 in a touchdown. And player number 27, whoever that is, literally just says player number 27, 59 yards and a touchdown. So shout out to player number 27. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, they're the better team, and they showed it. Disgusting effort from Fort Worth Christian. SES, they were without Trey Mosley, of course, and that plays a role. The one thing I want to say on their side of the ball is that I'm really excited for the future of Slade Evans over there. I think he's a great player, and I know Trey gets a lot of hype, but rightfully so. But whenever he graduates, I think Slade Evans next year is going to be a great player, and I'm excited to see him grow. I think he will be a great All-State back. I'm probably this year. I think he'll make All-District for sure. Next year he'll be an all-state back. I'm really excited about him, and he'll have him and Huffstadter back. I think it's gonna be a good year next year. So, yeah, good job, Eagles. No, honestly, good job, Cardinals. That's the better one in this one.
Next game on the slate, Brook Hill beats Tomball Christian Homeschool, 13-0. Not a lot of stats for Brook Hill on here. Honestly, really kind of a pretty low, a super low scoring game, all things said and done. Brook Hill now moves to 5-3, 2-2 in district. Or this game was not a district game though, but they're now looks to be Bishop Dunn next week and Brentwood Christian the week after. All you really need to know is that Tomball Christian Homeschool, this is the fourth out of the 5 TXPS schools they're going to play this year. They've already played Fort Bend, TWCA, Houston Christian, and they'll play TMI next week as well. So, obviously, just kind of highlighting the fact that you could argue Tomball Christian Homeschool is kind of a TXPS equivalent team. We definitely try to highlight them a lot on the space with how many TXPS teams they play each year. But 13-0 final, Brook Hill defeats Tomball Homeschool.
No, to that point, they'd be a solid team in TAPS Division Two.
Oh, yeah.
Because we saw, Brook Hill's they're kind of in the upper middle of TAPS Division Two, District Two. And holding Brook Hill to 13 points, especially with Houston Bynum, who's an absolute freak. We can't shout those guys out enough. That's very, very impressive on their end. Moving and staying in TAPS Division 2, District 2, Grace Community narrowly falls to Austin Hyde Park 28-20. The junior star quarterback Crawford Moffitt throws for 182 and 2 touchdowns, those both going to senior wide receiver Hudson Hart, who had 72 yards on the game. Crawford Moffitt also, recorded a rushing touchdown, as well as sophomore Tom Burgess. Really, really impressive effort from there. And you look up, and Hyde Park is very quietly 4-0 in district. They will be 5-0 after a game, unless something crazy happens against Brentwood here on Halloween. And that leads to the all-important game against Austin Regents to finish the season. You're not going to see, and especially looking at the margin of victory here, Regents is going to be at least a 21 or 28-point favorite in that game, but that's going to set Hyde Park up, even if they lose, to be the second seed out of that district. They'll play, 5, maybe seed 5 out of District 1.
Hyde Park, you mean?
Yeah.
Hyde Park would probably play seed 3 in District 1 because they would be the second seed. So, a Fort Worth Christian, like a repeat of last year's matchup.
So that's still going to be very difficult. But all that being said, it's going to be a fun state of affairs for Hyde Park moving forward. And hey, crazier things have happened in Austin. Actually, they haven't, but we will see how that game happens at Regents on the 7th.
Absolutely. It was a good matchup last year, so you never know. Going to the next game, Lutheran South wins over Fort Bend Christian 35-18. Lutheran South is having the best year probably in the past decade of Lutheran South, maybe this year with a wins over Second Baptist and Fort Benning districts. So shout out to them. The story of the game seems like it's Holt Teichman. He went 12 of 22, 212, and 3 touchdowns. Braden Robinson officially back 89 yards at the receiving position, and also he ran in a touchdown in this one as well. Yeah, one other guy I want to talk about is the freshman Carson Rocha, 124 yards on the ground with a touchdown as well. The freshman making impact plays with him. With I guess Cortez Taylor is out in this one because he didn't have any stats in this one, so shout out to him. Um, it's an interesting one, right? Like where they're a solid team, and with your star player back, they look like they can actually get it going, right? They caused 3 touchdowns or 2 interceptions on Tibbetts, who honestly had a pretty good night, 25 or 36, 293 and 2 touchdowns, but the 2 interceptions must have cost them. Also 35 yards on the ground and a touchdown. They found their quarterback, man. T2 had a great night as well. 6 receptions, 112 yards and a touchdown. Dylan Cooper catching the other touchdown. But overall, great night for Lutheran South, man. Cade Griffin, the senior linebacker, 13 tackles, 1 TFL. Jack Sloan with another 10 tackles. Sack for Cade Griffin as well. And interceptions going to Noah Harris and two to Noah Harris and one to Max Saldana. Overall, great night for them. They now play, I believe it is next week. They play Woodlands Christian at their home, which will be a fun matchup to see if they can come close to the Warriors from the Woodlands. But overall, great season for the Woodlands, or sorry, for Lutheran South, who are now 6-2 on the year with wins over Hyde Park, Second Baptist, and Fort Bend, notable ones. So shout out to them.
Jason Fleming and company over at Lubbock Christian. Jason Fleming defeats his alma mater 57-30 against Colleyville Covenant Christian. That makes Lubbock Christian now 7-1, heading into their second last game in district against Pantego this week. Just overall a great performance from Coach Shoffley's team out in Lubbock. Lubbock truly showing that, like we've talked about, one of the top teams in D3, if not the very top, according to our rankings. Not a lot of stats on here online. I mean, they have the full score tracker on Max Preps with no specific names. But from what you can really tell here is that it never was truly that close of a game. All things said and done, it was 30-14 at the half. I felt like Lubbock pretty much had a hold on this game the whole game. Obviously, Colleyville Covenant, it's a great team. They've made a lot of changes over the past couple of years. Coach Phillips has done very well with that program as well. I saw that they ended up visiting, I think, ACU on the way out to play Lubbock Christian as well. So bringing guys, like we've talked about, bringing guys out to college campuses, always a productive thing. So, yeah, big win for Lubbock Christian as they keep mowing through their district.
Definitely so. Speaking of mowing through a district, Brazos Christian obliterates Shiner St. Paul 48-0. Oh, have the times have changed there. Hudson Jacobus had a passing touchdown to go with 167 yards, as well as Ty Urban, the junior linebacker, throwing a 27-yard touchdown score. I don't think many people had that on their bingo card for the contest. This game, though, was won largely due to the ground effort for the Eagles, as 8 separate players recorded a rushing stat, with Colton Garner going for 63 yards and 2 scores, and guess who? Reed Jackson with 2 as well, while the sophomore Luke Patton also had 29 yards and a rushing touchdown. Again, Brazos Christian, we talk about First Baptist a lot, and we talked about Central Texas a lot prior to their decimation at the hands of Brazos Christian. You look up, the Eagles are 8-0. They have 2 very winnable games against Covenant Christian and Rosehill. It looks like they might run through their slate yet again and make a very, very strong push back to Waco. Again, can't say enough good things. We think that we knew this would happen whenever they brought Jordan Black in, who's a state champion head coach, to lead them, and everything is coming up for the Eagles so far this year.
Absolutely. Moving on to another game that I know makes Wes a little bit happy over there in East Texas, Beast Texas, actually. 38-7 win for Tyler All Saints over McKinney Christian, who I was intrigued by this one. I wanted to see if they could actually be a legit team, and All Saints has proven it week after week. They're legit this year. The story of the game is, of course, Emerson Hadnot, the senior, 220 yards on the ground, rushing on 17 carries. He also had 41 receiving yards and 33 passing yards, literally doing it all for this. Are they just the All Saints Saints? What are they? The Trojans?
Trojans.
Trojans. Big win for them. Manny Miser throws for 70 and a touchdown. PD Eskren actually the freshman attempted 3 passes, which is just a funny stat. Overall, a pretty good team, a pretty good night for the Trojans tackling on the defensive side. Brandon Minek leads the way with 10 tackles and 3 TFLs. Reagan Ford, the junior, with 10. Sam Walters, 6 TFLs and 9 tackles. What a night for him. 2 sacks for Sam Walters. Brandon Minek has another sack. Clay Miser, the freshman, has a sack, and Cole Phillips has a sack as well. Interceptions for Tate Scully, 2 for Reagan Ford, 2 for Ford. Oh my goodness, 2 for Ford Fitzgerald, and another for PD Eskren. I'm guessing he's playing both sides of the ball. Overall, it seemed like a pretty much of a shootout, but Tyler Allsaints comes out on top, and Cody Dow is not playing for McKinney Christian in that one. Interesting to watch how that panned out. But overall, good night for All Saints. They continue to be having a great year, 6-2 now, with Shelton up next, and then the big daddy of them all, Dallas Christian, to end the year.
Next game on the slate was Mercy Culture Prep against Munster Sacred Heart. Mercy Culture gets the big win here, winning 48-10 over Munster Sacred Heart. Big things to note off rip is that obviously Braden Raybuck does Braden Raybuck things. The junior finished the night with 3 rushing touchdowns and over 100 total yards, as well as an interception. Junior quarterback Gage Sheely had 280 total yards and 3 touchdowns. I also wanted to highlight the sophomore Walker Hughes. He had over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown, and I think he also had a forced fumble. So big shout out to the sophomore getting truly involved in that game. Shout out also junior John Simmons. He had 9 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown as well. All this to say, Mercy Culture Prep is doing Mercy Culture Prep things in that district. They got Bishop Riker Catholic next week, looking to basically take that second spot in that district behind First Baptist. Things are shaking up there, man. I'll say Coach Sean Riley has truly changed this program around from basically what this program wasn't. If I have this correctly, what were they? They were I can't even find this. They weren't a tap school however many years ago, right?
Mercy Culture probably started as a team within 5-6 years. Like
Yeah.
they're really, really new.
So, with all that being said, for them now to be second place in this district, very impressive. I need to go wear my Mercy Culture Prep merch
Real.
a little more now that I have this. But Walker's talked about it a bunch. Mercy Culture Prep could shake up some things in the D4 playoffs. We'll see how things go.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Go on.
going to you. I apologize.
No, you're all good. Moving into an SPC 4A matchup, Episcopal best St. Mark's 32-16. No stats on max preps for this game. You really do have to feel for St. Mark's after a really, really good start to the season. You know, they lost to Fort Worth Country Day, but then they ripped off 1, 2, 3, 4 straight wins, and now they have reversed course with 4 straight losses. And outside of that 23-point loss to Kinkaid, they've all been relatively close. You know, you had a 10-point loss to Cooper, who's very good, obviously. You had a 3-point loss to St. John's and a 16-point loss to Episcopal. But St. Mark's is a respectable team on the year. It's just that, as we mentioned, SPC 4A is so dadgum stacked, and Episcopal's a large reason for that. I mean, Donovan Warren's one of the best 28s in the entire land. You have guys like Tyler Williams to throw to. You've got Tarzan, Madden Morgan, and smaller Tarzan, Deacon Morgan as well. I mean, it's a wealth of riches. That's going to lead into a massive, essentially, it's an elimination game this week for Episcopal versus John Cooper. We'll give our picks, obviously, when that time comes, but Episcopal just looks really dadgum good, man. We're going to see how well Cooper can respond after, like I said, getting locker stuffed against Kinkaid this past week. But that being said, big win for Episcopal as they look forward to the biggest game of their season thus far.
Absolutely. Moving on to the next game, Bishop Lynch beats TC Addison 47-9. Akani Cruz Barrios starts the game off with a 12-yard run. Another touchdown to Ishmael Muhammad for the second touchdown of the game. I'm just having Hammonds has an interception. Zach Williams gets his, I don't even know what touchdown on the year, but a good amount now on the night to make it 21-3. Nick Payne gets his third interception on the season. I'm just going through the score updates on Twitter, so this is why it sounds like this. Uh, Zach Williams again for a touchdown on just an out route, breaks a tackle too, runs up the sideline for the score. What a play by him. Leon finds Payne for a short touchdown, 33-9. Um, Nick Payne makes it another touchdown. Wow, what a game for Nick Payne. And then one last touchdown for Cruz Barrios to make it 47-9 for Bishop Lynch. Just keeps on rolling, man. Good team, good players, and they're showing it week in after week. I believe they play. Who do they play this week? They play at Liberty Christian plays at Bishop Lynch. Not saying they're going to lose or Liberty Christian's going to lose, but we've seen this year when they took on one of the top dogs earlier and they made it a little bit interesting for Prestonwood. Maybe Bishop Lynch can do it again versus Liberty. One last thing. Shout out to Ishmael Muhammad for grabbing his 100th career catch in the first quarter of that game. What a season, what a career for him over there wearing the black and white.
Next game on the slate, Argyle Liberty defeats Nolan Catholic. It says 63-0 on here. The final score was 63-3. Either way, still obviously BTA. 3 pick sixes in this game for Liberty Christian. Shout out Jet Hare, shout out Zyle Thornton, and shout out Chris Munster for those 3 pick sixes. Cooper Witten played in this game, but he was the kicker.
What?
He
Are you sure?
He kicked all 9 PATs, did not record a tackle in this game. So
I'm gonna call you on that. I don't think that's real because
okay.
Because in the warm up or like in the shaking hands, he was not he was in a jersey with jeans.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong, okay? But literally on Max Preps, the official stats, Cooper Witten 9 for 9 PATs and did not record a tackle.
I mean, you can kick PATs in jeans.
Walker Lott, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, that's what I'm reading right here.
This is the information given to us. All we can do is report on it.
Dude, this is all I know. I think that's awesome, though. I can't take anything physical. Can't take anything.
There's no way he actually kicked those though. There's no shot.
He is right. 9 for 9. It does say
I'm reading Max Preps. Do you think I'm lying?
I'm saying it has to be incorrectly input.
There's maybe
yes.
yeah,
absolutely. Not to go against you, Ryan. Absolutely, it was implemented incorrectly. But shout out to Cooper Witten.
Okay,
he could kick it. You never know.
He might. Why not? 9 extra points. I could kick an extra
That's
point.
A lot of extra points.
Actually, don't try.
I don't think you could kick an extra point. By the way, we might have to test that.
Whatever. Oh, maybe.
Well, he talks all about the Taps kickers not being able to do things. Maybe Ryan needs to do a taste.
That would be a really funny video idea. Like
we'll do it at Tap State.
Or State. I'll just go highlight real quick. Quinn Murphy had 3 passing touchdowns. Buck Halter had 3 rushing touchdowns. That's all you really need to know. Actually, Buck Halter had 250 yards too. That's also important. But overall, massive BTA. Liberty Christian gets the obvious win over Nolan Catholic, 63-3. If that's implemented wrong, I'm sorry, but it would be really funny to think that if Quinn Murphy made 9 for 9 PATs, that's all I have to say.
Really?
Or Quinn Murphy, Cooper Witten.
Can I add on to that? It says that Lincoln McCamey is now back for Liberty Christian, so glad to have him back.
Yes, I saw that and I didn't say that, so that's my fault.
You're good.
Definitely so. We will move on to the first forfeit on the scoreboard this year. Bishop Waco Riker forfeits to Dallas First Baptist. Not a whole lot to say here. First Baptist obviously is an absolute wagon. It's more interesting for Riker. This is I think it's their 39th or 37th straight loss. Winless this season, winless last season. I think winless the year before. It's a program that's in dire straits. Most likely, as we mentioned, probably moving down to 6-man or at least
they have to.
They're in. Do what?
They have to.
Yeah, you think so? I mean, I was going to say even at least independent, but they are independent this year already. I mean. This happens. It's not a death sentence for Riker by any means. This is a team that played for a state title as recently as 2020. I personally think they'll have the resource to get back at some point, but every once in a while, it's kind of like that old adage. Sometimes you have to have a forest fire to go through before things can regrow, and I think a forest fire is well warranted at this point not for First Baptist, Waco Riker. There should be no fire at First Baptist at the time being. That being said, it's about all the insight I got on that one.
Absolutely. Next game, Trinity Valley beats Cistercian 40-0. Big win for Trinity Valley as expected. Not much to say there. I want to say because we received Caden Stolbert's stats on the year, and I would love to pull them up and make sure that I think this is legitimately like the best in, yeah, this is probably the best in SPC. Caden Tolbert on the year is has 2,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, and then another 700 on the ground and 8 touchdowns on the ground as well. Honestly, I think he'll win quarterback of the year right now. He is looking like the best quarterback right now in the SPC. A phenomenal season for the Trinity Valley Junior. Man, he's just a gamer. He's an absolute gamer. He makes plays every sense of the word in the phrase, and the Trojans are lucky to have him.
Next game, Houston Christian defeats Green Hill 51-7. Another game I want to jump to just because I didn't have it on the scoreboard. Obviously, Grapevine Faith played TCS Lubbock this week. TCS Lubbock gave a scare to All Saints last week, and a game that we kind of had wrong just with like who all like played and where they played and stuff like that too. The game was obviously just extremely close with TCS Lubbock last week, but TCS Lubbock this week plays Grapevine Faith. Grapevine Faith defeats them 56-7. Just obviously Grapevine Faith played extremely well in this game. A couple things to highlight real quick is that, Cody Bowman had 4 passing touchdowns in this game for 204 yards. Cosby also threw for 80 yards in this game on four passing attempts and a touchdown. Sherpa had a rushing touchdown, and there's a few different guys who obviously caught those touchdowns as well. 2 TFLs on the defensive side of the ball for Scott Hadaway, the junior. Not really much else I got in here. Senior Luca Oliveira had 2 interceptions as well. That's basically what I got for you. Sorry, I wanted to highlight that game just because the Houston Christian Green Hill game doesn't have a lot of implications at this point in the season, but still a huge win for Houston Christian.
Definitely so. Moving on to a game that also doesn't really have a lot of implications given that Regents has trounced everyone they've played. But Regents defeats Grace Prep to the tune of 49-21. And that's honestly even a bit misleading as this was a 49-7 game in the fourth, where I'm assuming that Regents emptied the JV out there. Maybe they surrendered 13 or so points. All that being said, the usual suspects are out to play. Jack Devine throws 15 passes, only misses on 2 of them for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. Those touchdowns, 3 of them go to guess who? Blake Smith, who had 104 yards on the contest, 69 yards. Nice went to Cade Millington, who had 1. And then Drew Novi, the senior, also recorded a touchdown. In terms of the rushing affair, Jack Devine also rushed for 78 yards as well. Isaiah Mills had 31 yards and a touchdown. And again, that's also impressive because Grace Prep is not a slouch. They're 5-3. Colleen Jurgensen's a very, very good player. But it's not just like we've said about some other teams. We've talked about the region's offense ad nauseum. I know we've highlighted their defense a little bit, but their defense is just going through and just absolutely stuffing teams. I mean, they haven't allowed more than 14 points in a district game. They allowed 20 this week, but it was a 7-point game with their starters in. All that being said is we're going to have that big game. They have a bye week, then a big game against Hyde Park to finish the season. Honestly, if I was Hyde Park, I'd be a little bit ticked off that Regents gets that bye leading into that game because I think it's going to give them more time to get healthy, more time to prepare. All that being said, we talk a lot about Fort Worth All Saints as the team to watch in Division II. Regents, as of right now, is right there with them, I think, and that's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going next game of the slate. Holy Cross wins 47-0 over Church Shaw Hall, kind of as expected. Great night for Rocky Orozco. 4 seniors found the end zone on senior night, which is kind of funny. Taylor Flores led the way with 98 yards on 9 carries. Julian Salas, 2 touchdowns. Diego Flores, touchdown. And Andrew Rodriguez had a 39-yard score. I don't know. I don't have the stats on Rocky Orozco, but I'm going to guess he had a great night as well. I think multiple touchdowns. North 426 North San Felipe dominated on a home game in that district. Nothing different than usual. I want to say one last thing, and there is a game we didn't put on the list that I thought was a great game and wanted to mention quickly. It's a fun one. Tomball Rose Hill Christian beat Hallettsville Sacred Heart last week, 22-18, where Hallettsville Sacred Heart is, one of the better teams in Division 4, always has been, and Tomball Rose Hill usually near the bottom. They get a big win over Hallettsville, who played close with Brazos Christian, a couple weeks ago. It just shows that this program at Tomball Rose Hill is on the up and up, and I think that's a really cool thing. So shout out to the Eagles over there in Rose Hills Christian. I don't know what that means, honestly, for playoff seeding. I don't think that changes much, but that might mean, does that mean Rose Hill might get that spot above them now? Yeah, I think it would be, right? Yeah, because Brazos Christian is at 3-0, Central Texas is at 2-1, Rose Hill is now at 2-1, and then both Sacred Heart and Shiner are now at 1-2. So that means, I think I would have to look at the playoff picture, but that might mean Rose Hill gets in over a Sacred Heart or a Shiner, which would be kind of crazy for a team that, we had probably second the bottom of that district this year. So shout out to the Eagles, man.
Next and final game on the slate is ESD and St. John's. St. John's defeats ESD 20-17, and another game that doesn't really mean anything. However, I said this on the space. This would have some implications next year. It doesn't actually have true implications for this game specifically because now ESD and St. Mark's both moved to 0-4, and obviously that means St. John's would move to 2-2 with their 2-3, I think, is what they were looking. No, they're 2-2 currently. Sorry, I'm kind of reading this wrong. Oh, because they play Kinkaid this next week. So they'll finish the year 2-3. All that to be said, this in some aspect or another would be a fight for the fourth place spot, which would be a playoff spot next year in the SBC 4A bracket. All that to be said is the fact that you would have been looking at the games last week and this week. St. John's only defeats St. Mark's by 3 points. St. John's only beats ESD by 3 points. Both these games would have had playoff implications in the next year's format and may have been taken a little bit seriously, differently, I guess is the way of saying that, if that was the case. But when EHS, John Cooper, and Kinkaid are already in the conversation for the SBC 4A title slot, it's almost like there's not enough to like know what out there is to play for besides pride. So I'm interested to see how these types of games this time of year look like next year when we're talking about what it means for the playoffs.
Definitely so. I know we've been big fans of updating the SPC playoff picture to get more teams in, but I will miss that intense sense of urgency and kind of like the BCS era, every game counts type atmosphere. I think it's better ultimately for the game to allow more teams in, but that sense of chaos week in and week out has always been fun since we started covering. But the times, they are a-changing. All that being said, that wraps up our overall coverage of the TXPS Media Football Scoreboard. And before we go deeper in depth on our 5 games of the week, we now will turn to some of the brightest young people in the land for our Minute with the Interns.
This week in the SBC, Kinkaid took on John Cooper, ended up blowing them out 38-13 on the road. It started off with a first drive of the game. Kinkaid goes down deep to Alexander Donnelly, who ends up opening the game up. Then Jacoby Dixon comes in and makes it a 7-7 game on a 38-yard pass. Then after that, Ross Winnie delivers a dime to Miles Cordana to end up making it 14-7 Kinkaid. And then he finds Alexander Donnelly for his second touchdown of the game later in the second quarter. And so to end the first half, the score is 21-14. And after this, it just becomes the Wayne Shanks show. He absolutely balled out in the second half. He had 2 touchdowns in the second half, the first one coming in the third quarter and the second one coming in the fourth quarter. They end up making a field goal in there. Joe Norman also had a touchdown for John Cooper to make it 13. But Wayne Shank's stats for the end of this game, he had 32 carries for 232 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ross Winnie also had a great game at QB, 9 for 12, 143 yards, and 3 touchdowns through the air. Kinkaid really balled out in this game, and they proved that they still run the SPC.
Thank you again for our fantastic contributions from all of our student analysts. Truly, the depth at which our coverage extends throughout the state does not happen without them, and we are intensely grateful for it. With that being said, we are now going to move into the meat and potatoes of this episode and take a deeper look at the 5 or 6 actually games of the week that we previewed on the prior episode, starting with what was probably the most exciting game of the slate, Prestonwood at Parish. The Panthers survive a push by Taylor, Darasol, and Prestonwood to ultimately sweep the Division I Grand Prix. After the opening kickoff was returned for a touchdown by Parish, this ended up being a game where Prestonwood went up 21-7 in the second quarter off of two insane jump ball touchdowns by Giovanni Darasol and a rushing score by Braden Bixler. But Parish would respond with a 10-yard touchdown run by Marcus Hanish. But guess who Luke Glass finds 3 minutes into the second half out of the corner of the end zone? Is it A, Junior Niffen, B, Giovanni Darasol, C, a very unfortunate pigeon, or D, no context TXPS but in German? Walker Lott, your guess out of those four.
I'm going to say B, Gio Darasol.
Ryan, do you concur?
Sure.
Yeah, it's B, Giovanni Darasol. If you guessed any letter other than that, you might benefit from a cranial examination. This dude's nuts. He made absolute mincemeat out of the Parish corners all night. And the biggest question to me is, where in the heck has he been all season? He only has 9 receptions on the season for 117 yards, 0 touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns in the first half of this game. I mean, he's a true jump ball type receiver. And on a team like Parish that has a bunch of really good cats in the secondary, he just said, I'm better than all of you, and I'm going to show it. And that he did. But one short drive later, Beckham Smith was like, wait, I can do that too. And he toasted his man for a 55-yard score to make the game 28-21. We talk about Pyle and Siler Cook a lot, but Smith is a long 6'3" receiver with good speed that has been making plays since he was a sophomore. It's just an embarrassment of riches for Lucero and Phillips to contend with. And after some trading of possessions, quarterback Jonathan Phillips motions quarterback Logan Lucero out to the left, takes the quarterback draw, and the Parish offensive line marks a wall on the right side that you could not drive a semi through. That's disrespectful. You could fly a Boeing 747 through that joint. Walker, I'm going to ask that we throw the screenshot that I sent up on the screen right now. I mean, like I said, not a semi. You're flying a massive international plane through that hole. I mean, go back to the 2:05 mark in the third quarter and watch this play. It's one of the best that I've seen the entire season. And following some more stout defensive play, the ESD transfer senior William Taylor explodes through the middle of another hole opened by the incredible offensive line with Schleff, Bengard, Kozlovsky, and sprints 41 yards to pay dirt. 35-28 Lions, 5:15 remaining in the contest. And Prestonwood would have the opportunity to seal this game and shake up the entirety of TAPS Division I as they forced a 4th and 3 from the Panther 49 with 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Jonathan Phillips takes the snap from under center, fakes the handoff to Hanish, bootlegs towards the right hash, pressured by Ty Gildea, and right there you hear the color guy go, oh my God, Pyle's wide open. Sure enough, he was. Phillips makes a beautiful throw on the run. Pyle reels it in and takes off up the right sideline, and the Panthers live to fight another drive. 35 all. Parish would force Prestonwood to return the ball back to them, and Lucero and Phillips would lead a drive from the shadow of their own end zone to the Lions 17 as they would trot out kicker Princeton Gall, who has made 1 field goal on the year, by the way, to attempt a 34-yarder from the left hash. The ball is snapped high. Drew Burton makes the play of the game for Parish by corralling it, placing it, and spinning the laces out. And Sir Princeton Gall toe punches the nastiest screwball you have ever seen through the lower left 90 of the uprights as the Panthers survive 38-35. I've got to shout out the Prestonwood broadcast, first of all. It was seriously top-notch. I spent my Sunday morning at Starbucks writing the script and also watching the majority of it to get a feel for the game. Those guys are pros and much, much better than the high school level warrants. The only thing that could make it better is if Spencer Pattison was on, but he's on to bigger and better things at this point. All that being said, gentlemen, I know after our respective ends to Thursday nights, we caught the tail end of this game, and the insanity was just awesome. But I want to harken back to something I said on the preview episode, was that logic would have told you moving into this game that Liberty is much better than Prestonwood. Parish is much better than Liberty. Parish should be much, much better than Prestonwood. And I definitively stated, not to toot my own horn, we don't trust the transitive property that way across that many levels in Texas private school ball, especially. You look at the athletes that Prestonwood has, and even guys that have been hidden like Giovanni Darasol, and you realize that this is a dangerous out no matter who they're playing, even if it is the best overall team in TAPS Division I in Parish. I also said you'd have to be an idiot to pick against Parish in this spot. Thankfully, that was not proven wrong. But Walker, I think this really just solidifies that we can't draw neat little lines across all these teams and say, well, if Team A beat Team B and beat Team C, Team A is going to beat Team C. It's not how it works. Prestonwood is an incredibly difficult out. I would not be wanting to play them if I was Parish or Liberty moving into the playoffs. Your thoughts on this contest?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like these three teams are legit, and it's any given Saturday, right? That's the whole saying. And it in high school football, it's any given Friday, right? That where it's legitimately, if you play your game better than the other person and things go your way, it can happen. Like their defense was locking down uh Parish a little bit in this one, right? Where this Prestonwood defense is truly legit. There was a lot of 3-and-outs or stopping drives on both sides of the ball, turnovers, and it's just like it's a testament to these teams, man. They're legit. And it's just you have to feel bad for Preston a little bit because since them winning the title in 2018, they've just been on the bad side of everything in the past couple of weeks, right? Where they had to deal with the rise of Parish and the rise of Nolan right after they won the title, right? And then you're like, okay, Bishop Dunn goes bad or goes down, and you're like, okay, Prestonwood, it's finally the team to beat in the D1 North. And then these two teams come around. They kind of dominate for a couple years. Nolan goes down, but Parish still goes. And then that's when Nolan goes down. All right, Prestonwood's back to number two, and they combat, make a title game, lose to I think Sawyer Anderson sophomore year, I believe. And then with McGuire Martin, all that, you're like, okay, that was Donnie Yantis' first year. All right, they're gonna be back there, gonna be back, right? Um, Not back for a couple years. St. Thomas looks good that one year in 23, and then you're like, okay, how does this gonna go? And man, it's just like they can't win the big one right now. And they're a solid team, and they're a really good team. They just haven't been able to win the big one over it, right? Even when they won last year, they won over Parish in the regular season, but they couldn't beat them in the playoffs. They just can't they can't unlock that final key to win a title or make it to the state championship again. Not saying they can't because they're gonna have to play Liberty again in round two of the playoffs of how it's kind of looking right now, which I think is possible. I think it's intriguing, especially with Cooper Witten being out like he is. How does that look, a Liberty team without Cooper Witten against Prestonwood, who is coming off the thing of being like, we can do it. We just have to have a couple things go our way and fix it, and we can win some games. So, man, I think they can win the big one. It's a struggle bus of doing it right now. So, um, season ain't over though. You got one more game that really matters, which is that second round game against uh, Liberty in a couple weeks. So very interesting to watch this team. I think they're solid, man. I think this team is really good. They just need to win it. And but that's a credit to Parish. Like Novikov, man, he keeps finding ways to win. Every time you bet against him, or even when we bet for him, he finds ways to win these games. And that's a testament to his coaching staff, to him, and to this culture he's established there. Where even when the going gets rough, like when he was driving that last drive of the game, and you had Pyle to tie it up, and you're like, is he gonna like how is he gonna do it? It's like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 10, and maybe fourth down. I don't even remember. And you're like, how is he gonna do it? And it's just wide open Jalen Pyle, and it just happens. And it's not only just Jalen Pyle for the first down, which is easily could have happened. He somehow find a way up the sideline and ran it up. That's just a testament to this team of like they just find ways to win. And when you have the players like Pyle, Lucero, and company, it just happens for you. So shout out to these teams, man. What a game.
Absolutely. Ryan Schroeder, more chaos in the premier division in Texas private school. As always, it makes what we do fun. But what did you see out of this game and just overall outtakes from this game and the larger landscape of the D1 North?
Yeah, I just can't believe Prestonwood's 3-4. This is not a 3-4 Prestonwood team at all, right? You know, and I know they obviously booked All Saints, Bastrop, like they booked incredible teams. They're going to play St. Thomas last game of the year as well. Like they booked really good non-district games. And with that being said, yeah, like a game like this is a heartbreaker. I know one of the Pettijohn brothers went out near the end of the game as well, so hoping that he's okay. But with all that being said, I have high hopes for Prestonwood. I know Prestonwood can obviously shake things up in the playoffs, still put something together on their side of the bracket. As they'll eventually probably they'll have to face the Liberty for the second time, theoretically, if that's how that all works out. So high hopes for Prestonwood, still much to look forward to in the playoff slate of things. But 8-1 Novikov, man, he is a different human, bro. These teams just somehow, some way, always win these games. Always, bro. Like it's so funny. It has to be their loss is Coach Beck. Like I think that just makes so much sense. If there's anyone that like that they're gonna lose a close game to, it's someone else that's also proven in TXPS. Like that is just how talented the top of the top of TXPS is. All that being said, yeah, I mean this game was just fun to watch. It was fun to tune in this game. I'm glad this game got played as well. I was kind of telling that to my friends and parents and stuff. I was like, I'm just glad all these games got played, bro. I'm so glad that like we because there's so many times where these games get canceled. I would have hated if this game wasn't played. So overall, heck of a game, heck of a night, heck of a last second field goal. All things be said, what a great game. We got some parity.
That we do. Always fun to see it happen that way. We will move on to a game that we thought would resemble parody, but ultimately it did not. That is Midland at All Saints. That was live and on site to cover. And well, there's levels to this ish. All Saints breaks a branch off of a tree and fashions a switch as they smack Midland to the tune of 45 to 14.
My goodness.
The game would begin in exciting fashion as Jackson Franco would throw a ball that I think many collegiate guys would struggle to hit, let alone a 14-year-old, to junior wide receiver Cali Rodriguez, who went full extension to reel it in. There has to be a conveyor belt of Rodriguez's in Midland because I don't know how that family keeps producing elite athletes. A brief aside, I know the ball was incomplete. It was a great clip, and I'm going to pretend that it wasn't incomplete. Moving on. Gavin Beard would immediately respond with a 55-yard bomb of his own to sophomore sensation Jayton Briles to gridlock us at 7 points apiece. Cade Colson of the Saints defense would hawk the Mustangs offense for the remainder of the quarter as we would end the first still tied at 7. But following a forced fumble and a long scoop and sprint by Caden Bishop, the Stangs would knock a field goal through off the leg of sophomore Andrew Buckingham, 10-7 Midland. Beard and All Saints would respond by driving the field and finding senior tight end Jake Powers to reclaim the lead 14-10. Beard would then find a third wide receiver for a third score as Hatton French raced for a 73-yard score, and then freshman kicker Carver Johnston would boot a 27-yarder through to take us to the half, 24-10 All Saints. And the Saints never looked back from here. The second half opened with a fourth receiver getting in on the action as Hudson Resor reeled in a touchdown from Beard. Junior cornerback Gavin Richardson would then force a fumble as Keon Atkins would scoop it and race to pay dirt. And junior James Gebhard would close us out by snagging a pick six to hand us our final of 44-10. Kingston Byers had 4.5 tackles for loss. Ryan Powers had 2. As for Midland, Isaiah Matthews still looks like one of the best prospects in the entire division with 3 tackles for loss. Caden Bishop is fantastic as well, as he had 2. But ultimately, that's 45-10. Gavin Beard threw for 373 and 4 touchdowns to 4 separate receivers. Gabe Starling had 54 yards receiving. Dayton Briles had 81. Hatton French had 127. And Hudson Resor had 78, as Burke Toller had 18 yards on the ground. I know we talk a lot also about Parish and Prestonwood and Liberty, and I think we talk a lot about All Saints as being at the top of the division, but they've been smacking so many subpar teams. We haven't spoken about them as much, but this is still the best team in TXPS, in my opinion. I know it's close between them and, say, Parish and Liberty, but right now, and I said this on the space, Midland is a good football team. I've watched them twice now this year. They are a good team. This game is much less Midland having a poor performance as it is All Saints just quite frankly being better than them. And I know that's not what Midland wants to hear because ironically they would want to hear is, no, we lost this game. We beat ourselves. It was a bad performance. It wasn't. It was All Saints going out and showing you line up anyone you want across from us outside of TCS Lubbock, but that's a different thing. And we will go and just smack them. And they do week in and week out. Walker, I feel like this is the definitive game that tells me All Saints is the best team in Texas private school right now. We've been saying it for a while. I think this decides it. We're going to see once we get deeper into playoffs and we see stiffer competition like Regents or maybe a TWCA, and that's going to be late in playoffs. But right now, from the storyline read, from the stats rattled off, what are your thoughts on this All Saints team?
It's culture. Like It's everything that Beck has established in here. Like who, and this is the year, right? Besides Beard and number 9, I forget his name, who made a couple big plays in this one.
Hey,
There's not many guys that transferred in. This is the team from last year, pretty much, right? Ryan Powers moved from safety to defensive line. A couple of offensive linemen that were new or just were guys like Drew Edmonds coming back from injury this year, right? Carson Campbell's coming back. Jet Thomas, what a night for him too. Like Jaden Bryles through the program. All these guys that come through the program, and this is just a program that is established over there in West Fort Worth. That is just unreal. So credit to Coach Beck, credit to this coaching staff. Most of those guys on the coaching staff are guys who went through this program before and have come back and are coaching as alumni. It's culture. It's all it is. And Midland has a great culture too. What Coach is doing, Coach Dawson is doing over there is impressive, right? I think this is a good Midland team. But like you said, there's levels to this. And the level that Midland Christian on is just not the same as All Saints. All Saints is the pinnacle right now of what you need to build a program like in private school football. Parish is great too, right? Um, it's 1A, 1B right now of programs, and you got to give the team from Fort Worth the edge right now.
I think so. Ryan Schroeder, we have both seen All Saints live this year. This is my second time seeing them. We both saw that incredible performance against Parish week 1. They've got to be the best team in the state right now. But as for this absolute domination of another really good team in Division 2, what does that tell you about All Saints in this moment?
oh, I mean, it just means that I don't understand anyone that's in the same category as them right now. I mean, this is another performance where, you know, I think I talked about this going into this game is like, and I don't even think I hit it as well as I should have. Is like, yeah, Midland has playmakers. Midland is incredible, and Midland has an elite defense with guys like Coy Hayes, Caden Bishop, Caleb Cruz. Like we know how good they are, Isaiah Matthews. But like All Saints is just elite on all levels of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, they're absolutely incredible. On the offensive side of the ball, they have a 300-yard passing quarterback. They have absolute weapons at the wide receiver position. Like defensively, like they've got Kingston Byer is just it's just one example, but this team is just filled with so many elite players. Um, you know, I'll just say this: it's like you're wondering. We talk. It's so funny. Regions is playing all these teams and blowing out these teams. I have even said to myself, "Man, Regions is really good. I'm interested to see how they'll play against All Saints." TWCA is very good. I with the LSA game this week, I'm interested to see where TWCA stands in all this. Well, it doesn't matter, bro. Like All Saints is just absolutely just bar for bar, well-rounded, elite, and a 35-point win against a team that is as good as Midland Christian just says that. I'm so excited for the playoffs when All Saints will face some of these like these higher like high caliber big teams that we've been talking about all year.
Like Grace
Because
Community.
oh, I don't. Sorry, you want to cut that? I don't think we
Error
should.
404 not found.
I don't think we should have said that.
Okay.
But no, I'm just kidding. All that to be said, though, that's just another massive win for the Saints.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've spoken, like I said, ad nauseum on the talent level, at the depth, the fact that there's not a weakness on this team. And like I said, I'm at this point that we've built this narrative that there are contenders in Division Two, and someone's going to take a crack at the King. And not up to this point. I'm more excited now to see what happens when All Saints gets to that state title game and who's going to match up against them. I'm not trying to overlook Fort Worth Christian. We'll have a preview for that game shortly, but right now, All Saints is really established. It's them. 50 feet of whatever you want to call it, and then everyone else in Division or District 1, Division 2, excuse me. Moving on, we're going to look at a game that I tried to hype up as potentially being close, and that blew up in my face a little bit. That's Dallas Covenant at Dallas Christian. DC makes it very clear they care not for our narrative that they could face competition in district play as they wax Dallas Covenant to the tune of 45-7. For the first time this season, we see a single quarterback throw a pass for the Chargers as junior Luke Savard throws for 211 and a score to sophomore standout Dylan Belt, who accounted for 110 yards off of only 5 receptions. DJ Stanley further his MVP behind a 190-yard performance with 3 touchdowns to add, as junior athlete River Kirkhoff went for 90 and a touchdown, and junior Cooper Johnson had 60 and a score. Both those guys just mentioned have also played quarterback for the Chargers, so I'm not entirely sure if they were playing quarterback and rushing or being running back in that moment. Doesn't really matter because at this point, DC can say, we're going to beat you this way, and they do it. Senior linebacker Jackson Barr went ballistic with 15 tackles and 5 tackles for loss, and sophomore Hudson Dietz and junior Jack Lemon also went over double digits on the defensive end. Walker, we don't need to spend a ton of time here, but and again, this is the more interesting question from this game, especially considering Lubbock Christian's strong effort, Holy Cross playing very well. DC are the reigning district champions in Division 3. Are they still the team to beat over Lubbock Christian and Holy Cross?
Yeah, I think it's the type of thing where until the king dies, you can't elect a new one. That's kind of my motto on it. Um, like our rankings say that too, where we have DC number 2 and Lubbock Christian number 3, and then Holy Cross number 4, right? I think if probably the betting odds are probably Lubbock Christian's the favorite, but you can't say they're the team to beat because Dallas Christian. We did the same thing last year, right? Where you go into the state title game and you're like, how does Holy Cross not win? And they don't, right? Luke Carney's not there anymore. Yes, yes, and you can do blah 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 blah, right? But I still think Dallas Christian is the team to beat until someone beats them. That's the thing is, are they the team to beat? Yes, they are because no one's beat them yet. So that's kind of my rationale behind it. So to answer your question, yes, big win for them in this one.
I'm gonna put a little more direct question to Ryan Schroeder because I think you said something, but you also weaseled out of the question I was trying to ask. I'm trying to get a clip here that DC fans might be able to get us on. Ryan Schroeder, is Dallas Christian the best team in TAPS Division 3 right now with the others mentioned?
Good point.
No. I think that's my answer. I think Lubbock Christian, Coach Softly, Jason Fleming, oh gosh, I'm forgetting the guy's name I just read when I was going through things. I think
Keaton Lee.
Yeah, Keaton Lee. I don't know, man. I'm really impressed by those dudes. But it's not to say that like I don't know. I literally haven't watched a lot of Dallas Christian football. I haven't been tapped in, Like there's a guy named DJ Stanley that scores 3 touchdowns on 194 yards. Like
welcome back.
They got a receiver. They got a receiver with Dylan Bell, who's only a sophomore, 110 yards receiving. Like, I don't know. The answer, in my opinion, is Lubbock Christian number 1. But yeah, I don't know. There's also a guy named Rocky that's down in Holy Cross, and he's got a top 10 running back in the state in his class. So it's like, I don't know. There's the answer is Lubbock Christian in my opinion. But DC and Holy Cross are hanging in the balance, is what I'll say.
So I'm saying this now on Sunday, October the 26th, in the year of our Lord 2025 at 2:56 p.m. DC is going to win the D3 state title. I don't make the rules. This is how it happens. I will harken back to this episode right now. I think their offensive line is fantastic. I think that DJ Stanley's a monster. He's the reincarnation of Jaleel Brown, of Sean Coleman, of Zach Hernandez. I'm not going to mention that guy, of a lot of people that have played for Dallas Christian in the past. I just think this team, it's weird because as good as Luke Carney has been for the past 4 years, we forget that Dallas Christian is a team whose identity is built out running the ball down your throat. They've also got some great receivers as well, which helps, and they have a tenacious defense with Jackson Barr and Hudson Dietz and Jack Lemon. I really do think that and I'll get to you in a second, I really do think that we try and go for some of the sexier looking teams that throw the ball and air it out and things like that. I just think DC is so solid year in and year out, and I'm going to take them here. Ryan Schroeder.
I didn't mean to be an absolute butthead with pointing to my microphone, but I just want Coach Softly. If you're currently listening, you're gonna want to play this like 6 times, dude.
No.
I promise you. He talking about all this like DC fuel. Yeah, Coach Softly, play this about 18 times in front of your dudes, and that's all you need to know, dude. I mean that's atrocious. Coach, I literally want Lubbock Christian to like basically inject that in their veins, dude. And same for Holy Cross, dude. Jacob Bermudez down at Holy. Give it to him, bro. Give it to him. Like just straight in there. That's all I'm talking about.
I listen, I just realized with you even saying Holy Cross, like how much of a Holy Cross diehard I became last year. I sold out. I was like, I want them to win it. I don't know. Maybe I'll be Benedict Arnold. I'll go back and say that, hey, I reserve the right to change my opinion after I see the All Saints game in a couple weeks here. That being said, listen, I guess we figured out that we've got the power to shape narratives around these divisions, and actually kids will listen to what we say and it makes them play harder. Maybe that's what we're doing here. We're just trying to inject some more life, throw some coals on the fire of TAPS Division 3 and make this a really fun sprint to the finish. That being said, we're going to move on very, very briefly to Oakridge at Country Day because there's not a lot to talk about here. Oakridge led 8-6 at the half. The game was ultimately canceled due to lightning. It ultimately means nothing as the SBC 3A title game between these two teams has already been set, and they will face off in the title game in the first week in November. We're going to move on from that to a game that Walker Lott, for better or for worse, was live and on site. Ed, you caught a bit of flack, which makes me happy after what I endured at the Parish game. Walker, what'd you see at the Kinkaid game?
Yeah, back to the Oakridge Country Day game. I'm glad they didn't play it because we have no idea who's going to win that state title game, and now we have no idea who to pick. I think that's fun. Anyways, John Cooper Kinkaid. Well, a battle of the top of SBC 4A happened last Friday. The hype of the conference versus the king of the division. And I believe the saying goes, like you said earlier in this episode, if you come for the king, you best not miss. And well, Cooper tried and missed badly as the Falcons dominate 38-20. During the first quarter, it was honestly a defensive dogfight with 3 and outs on both sides, and even Cooper winning the turnover battle with a forced fumble. Ross Wynn then becomes a magician and literally breaks out of a couple tackles, rolls out, finds Alex Donnelly to go up 7-0, literally as the time expires in the first quarter. Start of the second quarter, Cooper drives down, and Jacoby Dixon, welcome to SPC, my man, reminds TXPS who he is and responds where he goes 38 yards to the house to tie the game. Credit to Colin Weeks and David Esquivel on that left side of the offensive line to part the Red Sea. Like Wes said earlier in the Parish game, you could have driven a 737. Even Wes at his age could have ran that touchdown in.
24. That's an insane thing to say.
Yo, Unc, bro. Yo, Unc. Don't even
I'll
worry about it,
leave.
bro.
Anyways, Cooper kept that momentum going, getting another strip sack by Blake Lopez, and they recover, but ultimately they cannot convert on that turnover. And that's kind of honestly the story of the game. John Cooper in this offense just not converting when it matters. But that is a credit to the nightmare fuel that is this Kinkaid defense, right? 2 more win touchdowns in the second quarter. Camarda and again to Donnelly, where the Magic Man does it again, breaks a tackle, and Kinkaid goes into the half up 21-7. Still anyone's ball game, right, at the half, but that quickly gets stopped with Nate Chambers getting a pick on Collins on the opening drive of the second half. The rest of the half is, well, the story of Wayne Shanks and this offensive line, truly dominating the line of scrimmage. Literally like I thought was possible, this offensive line. That, we talk about Wayne Shanks and he breaks tackles here and there to get extra yards for 4 and 5 yards. But this offensive line dominated the front seven for John Cooper. And it was shades of the Micah Bell Wildcat formation. And when I got to my Jack Klosek guy and I say that to him and he goes, well, it was actually this guy. No, it was actually this guy before that. Oh, no, it was the Josh Williams special back in the day. Who was at LSU, which makes sense, right? But yeah, this is not something that is new to the Kinkaid team where they just run Wildcat with their best player and say, our offensive line is tougher and more physical than you, and we have the best back in the SBC. We're going to run it down your throat. And that's kind of what was the second half. Ross had some great plays too, but it was really mainly that. But he showed 2 touchdowns in the second half for him, and he showed why he's the best player in the SBC this year. Collins and this Cooper offense gets shut down in the second half for the most part, besides an elite pitch and catch to Joe Norman for the 35-plus yard score and a catch to Jake Sneed over the top for the score as the buzzer basically sounds for the end of the game. The storyline is this. Kinkaid will dominate you on both sides of the line of scrimmage until you break, and then again they will score on you. They can pass it on you as well, or run it on you, but they will run it down your throat until you say, I can finally stop you. Other side, Joe Norman will be is that a little too much?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. Um, Joe Norman will be electric and will be one of the best to come through SBC. And I almost broke a kick return for the touchdown. And after talking to someone, if that kicker didn't make the tackle, it would have been Larnett's first kickoff return touchdown and would have ever happened against him as the head coach at Kinkaid, which would have been an insane stat, which also is an insane stat for this Kinkaid special teams. But even crazier stat than that is that Eric Sipko and Jake Sneed only finished with 2 catches apiece and a combined 70 yards. And all 4 of those catches came in the fourth quarter. I mean, Joe Norman is electric and maybe he's their most difference maker at receiver, and he got most of the receptions in this one. But Eric Sipko is almost, I think, one of the guys leading the SBC in receiving, not getting a ball until the fourth quarter is kind of crazy. And Jake Snead as well. He's the biggest mismatch on the field, and only 2 catches in the fourth quarter. The only other one was in the start of the third, where what was the interception was overthrown to Chambers. It's just a crazy offensive thing. The run game was not there because this Kinkaid defensive line just is out physically than them. It's guys who come into the program and they're just like, I'm more physical than everyone else, and they go, all right, you're on the defensive line, and they just do it every single time. In the end, Shanks ends up with 272 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that's the game. If you stop the run versus them, you win. And only Gunter and Regents have been able to do so. And honestly, I don't know if any SBC team can. Episcopal showed it in things, but still, Wayne Shanks got going in that one. EHS versus Cooper next week for all the marbles. It's basically a playoff game. Everything's on the line. Can the hype of Cooper continue and make the title game? Or does the other King associate of EHS make the title game once again, and we have Kinkaid EHS for title part 77, so it's gonna be interesting to watch. But Kinkaid, man, yes, I tweeted this out and tagged Peter Lizui that I know you never pick against Kinkaid, and I knew that, and I still did it, and I've proven wrong once again. This team, man, top to bottom. Also, Ross Wynn outdueled Collins. Like, when you thought about, okay, is it just the Wayne Shake show? No, Wynn outplayed him, right? Like, it's insane, man. It's a great team. Culture there is just unbelievable. So shout out to the Falcons.
Definitely so. The main thing that stands out to me is Wayne Shanks with 32 carries in this game. You go back into previous box scores and you realize there's not another running back that gets carries for Kinkaid. It's always Shanks, and it's always 25 plus carries a game. And it seems like he's inching closer to 30 as the weeks go on. It's his resiliency and his toughness that speaks more to me than anything. Because he's not, he's not a 220-pound guy. He's probably like what, Walker, like 180.
Yeah, I would say so. 5'11", 180, maybe.
Like 5'11", like that Micah Bell archetype. And the fact that, if he's taking 32 carries and he's scoring twice, that means about 28 of those carries, some guys are trying to hit him as hard as they physically can every single game. I mean, it's a testament to, whatever the sports medicine staff is again, K, but the fact that we are this late in the season, he is toting the rock this many times, and he is still looking better each week, whereas Ryan's saying that every week he's putting up more and more yards. He's peaking at this point in the season. I know we speak a lot about Wayne Shanks, and it's warranted because of how much he is to this Kinkaid team. I just want to take an alternate look at it and just kind of really be flabbergasted by the amount of carries he's totaling week over week, and the fact that we haven't seen any glaring injuries, any tweaks that have shown up. I mean, it's incredibly impressive. And also to the point of the defense, holding Cooper to 20, who have just been absolutely, blasting teams with points week in and week out. It's from the result of this game. It's, again, I just kind of bashed the transitive property, but I'm going to bring it back here a little bit. Seeing that Kinkaid only beat EHS by 4, then comes out and beats Cooper by 18. We're going to expect that EHS is going to come out and win that game, but I think, I don't know. Cooper still has a bunch of talent. I think there's a very strong chance they can win that game, but it's going to make for a really, really exciting elimination game in 4A. Ryan Schroeder.
Yeah, Cooper, it's crazy because Cooper is bar for bar one of the most talented teams in the state. Like bar for bar, even Walker Lott was like saying names to me on Friday night, and I was like, I know so many of these dudes' names because they're actually like they're just name recognition at this point with like how good some of these dudes are. And for the fact that, like Ross Wynn and Colson Collins going toe to toe and Ross Wynn playing that well as well. But You already know my take on Wayne Shanks, bro. You already Wes hit exactly what I've been saying week after week. Somehow, some way, more carries, more yards. He's an anomaly, bro. And I think that's my nickname. He is an anomaly. The anomaly is what I'll call
Nice.
Wayne Shanks Jr. Literally insane. And the fact that we get one more year after this with him is still such a mind-boggling thing to think about. All that to be said, I don't have a lot to take from this. Walker and Wes hit it pretty well. Really excited for John Cooper EHS next week. Wes obviously talking about the Transzone property, but that is anyone's game. John Cooper has so many dogs on this team. EHS obviously has their own set of dogs as well, but I would love for a little comeback game for JCS in this game. Shake up things in that state championship at SBC 4A. Like I've said before with Walker and Wes, we haven't seen a state champion not named EHS and Kinkaid in so long. So obviously an 18-point win would indicate that probably won't happen even this year if Kinkaid was to be the victors come a couple weeks. But with all that being said, still interested to see some parity in SBC 4A. Shout out the Falcons of Kinkaid.
Definitely so. And Ryan Schroeder, as we move into our last game, which is Houston St. Thomas versus Concordia Lutheran. This is a game that you actually got to follow the radio broadcast for, so you've got a little more insight than me. So I'll come up with some stats at the end. But from what you heard in this one, how is the flow of this game going?
Yeah. Shout out the radio broadcast on the Legacy Sports Network down in Houston. I was able to kind of follow the game even with just the radio broadcast, as I was talking about on the space. But as the commentators said on the radio broadcast, a lot of mistakes for St. Thomas. This was St. Thomas's game to lose against Concordia Lutheran, and that is technically kind of what was happening. To start the game, the first mistake for St. Thomas came in the first quarter when the punter dropped the snap on their own 5-yard line at the end of the first quarter. This allowed Malik Liberty at the start of the second quarter to basically punch Concordia Lutheran up 9-0 going into early to kind of middle of the second quarter after a failed 2-point conversion. Now St. Thomas had the ball driving down the field. They got a huge play to senior wide receiver Nate Tidwell to eventually set themselves up for a field goal. Eagles to put some points on the board, but they missed that 25-yarder, and now Concordia had the chance to drive, ended up, I think, getting stopped on a 3-and-out, if I read that correctly. And then before the half came to a close, St. Thomas got the ball back, and junior running back Miles Stewart did find the end zone, creating just a 2-point gap at the half. 9-7 was the score. Second half starts, and it was a 50-yard Stewart run that really put the Eagles into Crusaders territory, which eventually led to that junior quarterback Pierce Jacobson rushing touchdown. Eagles took the lead 14-9 there. And then it was early in the fourth quarter with Malik Liberty once again. He puts Concordia back up on the Eagles 15-14 with 9 minutes left. This was the second 2-point conversion that Concordia Lutheran failed in this game. Obviously, the score at that point would have been they would have had 19 points instead of 14 points, or instead of 15 points. That's quick math right there for you. With less than 5 minutes in the game, senior running back Javon Waldron did find the end zone for the Eagles, and that was going to be the killer because on the final Concordia Lutheran drive down to the Eagles' 20-yard line, that instead of needing just a field goal, they needed that touchdown after missing all those 2-point conversions. And who else but 26 3-star defensive end Obina Ume falls on the fumble snap that allowed St. Thomas to close out the game. All in all, final score 20-15. St. Thomas wins against Concordia Lutheran, winning the South District in Division One. I'll cut to Wes because he has a lot of the individual stats in this game, but shout out LSCSN for kind of giving a run-by-run of the game as well as the radio broadcast. We were able to kind of call out a couple things here in real time, but a really close game at the top of the D1 South.
Yeah, I always got to shout out LCSN. John Walk and Dan Morgan and company are psychopaths in the most endearing way possible. The depth of coverage they brought for so long is honestly fantastic. That being said, just to hit on your point, we talk about the three-headed monster of Malik Liberty, Jackson Coleman, and Rome Stanford. And Malik Liberty is just a dog, man. Walker was saying before the episode started that he's got to be a top 5 running back in 26. I mean, if I haven't seen him live, so it sounds weird to say this, but I've seen him live through Walker's clips. If you see him live, you understand that he is fantastic. In terms of the stats here, it was ugly offensively, but like I said, the Eagles got it down done on the ground behind 3 rushing scores, 1 apiece from Miles Stewart had 100 yards, and then Pierce Jacobson and Javon Waldron both got it done on the ground. St. Thomas defense was the big story here, limiting that electric offense to 15 points in large part due to the efforts of, who Ryan mentioned, Obina Ume. 4 tackles for loss and a sack as juniors Vontrell Benton, Kahiri, and McQueen Clayton, and senior Liam McCarthy came up with 3 TFLs, as the Eagles had 21 tackles for loss upon this contest. So this is going to lock up the number 1 seed in the South for St. Thomas. Walker Lott, I'll turn to you, because what that means is Concordia very likely is going to take that second spot unless they slip up in the next week. And then that's going to leave a log jam with 3 teams tied at 2-2 in the Division I South. It's interesting because these teams collectively do have flaws, but I think there is a chance that there's more talent among this group than in the past, where we saw it was a no question, even for like the 4th ranked teams in the Division I North playing, the 2 and 1 seeds out of the South. And then we're like, yeah, the 4 seed's going to win. This always happens. Your thoughts on the caliber of talent, and also how this game wins, and also how the playoff picture is shaking up in the South.
Sorry, I keep looking over. The F1 races on, and Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen are acting like absolutely animals right now. And it feels like I'm back in 2021, where they just do not care about each other's lives, and they will race until one person, Anyways, you don't care. I don't care. Anyway,
I knew I was ready for Wes to say some line that he's said before, and I was gonna laugh.
I got it before he could say anything. And guess what? Might be cut out. I don't think so. I'm gonna keep this in. I'm just rambling now. Anyways, big win for St. Thomas. I think it's really down to they have more talent, right? They're the more talented team. The TFLs are crazy, right? Where even Malik Liberty had a great night. Doesn't matter when they're the line of scrimmage, they somewhat won. But credit to this Concordia team, man. Holding this offense also for only 20 is crazy. This Concordia team is legit this year, and I'm really, really impressed. And so shout out to them for proving me right. I picked I picked St. Thomas. We all did, but like I was like, it could be interesting. And it was. So good for them. I just want to say one last thing. Uh, if you ever have some free time, go watch Obina Ume's tape he just released this past day. Man, is it fun. Like, I don't know if we've had a pass rusher like that in TXPS in a very long time. I've had to think about it. Because even Trey Williams was not a true pass rusher like he was. Dalton Knapp was good. I guess that's a good one to compare him to. And Tucker Ashford's more of an outside linebacker than pure edge rusher. Like, pure edge rusher off the ball, I will beat you. He controls line of scrimmages, and his tape is a lot of fun to watch. And he's just a difference maker. And he's already up to like 7-8 sacks in October. Like, kid's gonna have a great year. He's gonna be running for the MVP. And yeah, I think it's a great year for them. St. Thomas now plays in 2 weeks Prestonwood, and that is I will be like, okay, how good can this team be? And that is going to be the game to figure out. Are they around the top 3 in Division 1, or are they still one of the South teams, if that makes sense? So very interesting to see how they can continue.
We'll see. And I feel like we actually don't typically push the narrative in a given year that this is the year the South topples the North. I think every year we go into the playoffs, at least the past 3 or 4, saying, okay, the North is better. These teams are going to come out. It was a great run for the South, cannibalizing each other a little bit, but they'll all be out, by the 3rd round of the playoffs. I don't know where I'm at this point. I know St. Thomas is really good, but I do think there's levels, and I don't think they're in the same vein as Prestonwood, Parish, and Liberty. And I think back to them falling to Kinkaid, and then Kinkaid falling to Regents. Then I think the top 3 in Division I are better than Regents. Again, we talk a lot about the transitive property not mattering, and we then go on to use the transitive property a lot. It's really all I've got to go on. We're covering like 100 teams here. I'm using quick maths to simplify things a little bit, which is why we're often wrong. And I lost 9 games last week. All that being said, I'm not going to speculate any further because we will have games that will be played that will decide this regardless. With all of that being said, that actually concludes all of the information that we have for this episode. We're going to lead into a very fun Halloween-styled episode here on Thursday. I am Very curious to see what y'all's costumes are. I would be much more in. I can't say the word I want to say on episode to Walker doing that, but I would have much more fun if I knew what you two were wearing, given both of you wearing cheerleading costumes, if Grace wouldn't have had their starting quarterback go out and get boat raced by Brook Hill. No Context actually also got his Halloween attire ready. I don't know why he's also wearing a cheerleading costume, but he picked that up. Tune into the episode Thursday to see if I'm actually a man of my word and I wear what I said I would wear to keep me from lamenting that further. As always, I've been 1/3 of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder have excellently been themselves. We will see you in the Halloween episode in a few short days. See you later.